Afternoon witches and seekers. As I've said in other videos, if you watch them, and you should, that I've had a backlog of videos 'cause I didn't really do much the past 2 months because I was preoccupied with, well, really, it was a couple of different factors that all amalgamated together. But anyway, getting caught up on some videos I meant to do a long time ago. This one, because I took a break from witchcraft videos because they weren't getting views compared to my INFJ videos, but this is one that was requested months ago, and it's probably one of the most common curiosity seekers or people that aren't in the witchcraft that are considering going to a witch for a spell encounter. Because let's be honest, witches, for those of you that aren't seekers or dabblers, those of you that are, like full-on witches like me, people come to you for spells. What are they usually coming for? Money or love? And usually from the people who come to me, it's usually something resembling love, because it could be come to me spells and breakup spells. So it's I'm under the umbrella of what I would call love spells. And what I want to discuss for those of you that are considering doing a love spell, or those of you that are not into the craft that are considering going to a witch for a love spell, some of the potential dangers in doing that, because it's not like on the TV and the movies, and magic is a little more complicated than that in real life too. So that's what I want to get into. First, to start off, love spells can be a lot of different things. You can cast a self-love spell if you're having confidence issues. You could cast a love drawing spell to essentially bend the rules a chance to draw in love, someone who you could potentially fall for, who's your type, not a specific person. Really no danger in that. But usually, by usually I mean almost always, what people want when they want a love spell is they want a spell to make a certain person fall for them. And there's varying degrees of that. Like, for one, it's one thing, to do like a come to me spell if you want a specific person to come to you so you can essentially see if chemistry is there, cross paths one on one, see what happens, kind of thing. I do those for people all the time. I've done them for myself over the years. But that's usually not what people want either. They want a specific person to fall for them. And this can be varying degrees too, because sometimes, that person may have feelings for you, and there could be obstacles in the way of you two being together. Obstacles that aren't, you two, like, it could be two people that obviously have sexual tension, have chemistry, but there's other forces than the two of you keeping you from exploring that. I often help people with that, and I have no problem doing so, because if two people have a connection, it should be between the two of them and not anybody else's opinion. But, a lot of times that's not how it works where I live currently. Everywhere else I've lived, that's how it works, So, but that's why I hate small towns and everybody knows everybody, and it's like group think and all that. But you've heard me rant about that in pretty much every video, but it has something that has haunted me for over 2 decades now, so I'm going to be quite bitter about it until I finally leave this place for the last time. Yeah, it's my little witch cackle. However, more often than not, somebody wants a love spell. It's usually for unrequited love. So one person has feelings for another person, and those feelings aren't returned, or they're just not being honest about it, or playing hard to get. It could be usually it's because it's unrequited love. And there can be some dangers in spells like that. First off, spells don't always guarantee the work, and the biggest thing is they take time. Stop watching movies thinking when a witch casts a spell, bam, it's done. Doesn't work like that. It takes time. Even, demons take time to make things happen. Deities take time to make things happen. Things have to fall into place. And a lot of times it's not just a one spell and done kind of thing for most situations, unless you're hexing. And then, a hex is a hex, and it usually gets the job done, and pretty quickly too, unless you're doing a very specific hex. But in terms of love spells, there can be dangers. So let's just say, for the sake of argument, somebody comes to a witch, somebody comes to me, and it's like, I'm in love with this person, and they're not returning my feelings. Help me, help me. They're my twin flame. It's like, how's someone your twin flame who you barely spoke to? You don't know any of their secrets, and they don't know any of yours. I just know, help me, witch. Okay, okay. In situations like that, it can be dangerous, depending on the type of magic you do. So there are, white magic. I don't like the term white and black magic, but it's common terminology, so I'm going to use them so people understand. White and dark, it's the witch's intent or the intent of the spell. Anyway, so a typical white magic spell would, bend the rules of chance to compel these people together to see if there is anything there. Like, say the person who maybe doesn't have feelings isn't being honest about it, or they're repressing those feelings because other people told them to, or, they're being told to be with somebody else, whatever the factors are. It's essentially going to bring to the surface what that person who is denying feelings for the one who the spell is cast for may have. But in the end, you're not really forcing anybody's will. You're just bending chance to the point where it's like, well, if there was ever any possibility of something being between you two, we're going to throw a spell at it and bring that into manifestation, bring that scenario into being. Still not that dangerous. No, there's some dangers with spells like that too, particularly if you do it wrong, you might end up, the person who's casting it, with an obsession spell. Like, from a witch's point of view, if, say, a guy comes to me and is like, I have feelings for this girl and she doesn't like me, cast a love spell for me. And if I have feelings for that girl, probably going to come back on me. I'm probably going to get obsessed then. That shit can get tangled in casting spells like that. Never, witches, never cast a love spell for somebody if you are, if you have feelings for the target. But moving on to black magic, and we're talking working with demons, working with Lilith. We're busting out the snake skin and the roses and, the dragon's blood incense. Yes, it is possible to create false senses of attraction in people's minds to, get that stubborn target to maybe think a little differently and like the possibility of being with the target. Now, these spells are powerful. They do still take time to manifest, but they're powerful. They're a little tricky to pull off, but careful what you wish for if that's what you really want. Most witches will tell you when they practice black magic that, yeah, we can do this for you. Make damn sure you want this person, because a lot of times with black magic love spells, they are difficult to break. The person your target will have some level of obsession with you. So if you're going for a black magic spell for someone to fall in love with you, you better want that person. You better be head over heels and want to be around that person all the time, because they're going to fall hard. If that spell works, they're going to fall hard. Do not ever, well, I don't like bending people's free will, but just in general, if do not ever have a witch cast a black magic love spell on a target for somebody you just intend to have a fling with. You're not going to get rid of them. Well, I mean, eventually you could, but it's going to take other magic to make that happen. Now, if somebody's not into you at all, I wouldn't understand why you'd go to this length of magic to make something happen. That kind of, in my mind, I'm just talking for me, would borderline on obsessive. There are times, I think, where love spells on specific people are justified given certain circumstances. But if this person has no feelings for you and never did, then probably not a good idea, because in the long run, how are you going to be with this person? Because a love spell, even a black magic one, that is inserting these false senses of attraction, still isn't going to change who that person is, how they act, how they think, how they feel. And if they're a cheating type, that ain't going to stop that either. There are separate spells for that too, but we're not getting to that yet. So it's something to be aware of. Now, you can go, you think that's dark, we can go darker. There's obsession spells in black magic to make someone absolutely obsessed with you, to where they are, or you are, sorry, their whole world. And if you really want the person, they do work. I've yet to do a spell like that. I've seen it done. But yeah, the person that you target will be utterly obsessed with you. There'll be no getting rid of them. You better want to be with them at every moment, and you better like public displays of affection, because this person's going to be all over you, completely obsessed and infatuated with you. And again, it's not something that's easily reversed. And yet we can go higher if that's not dangerous enough for you. There are demonic love binding spells. And with those, as far as I know, I've only ever seen someone do one once, and I haven't done that. But as far as I know, you're bound for life. There's no getting rid of it. So again, you're binding this person's soul to yours. And if you decide 6 months down the road, wow, this person isn't who I thought it was, or they gained weight and they're not as pretty anymore, or they cheated, they're still going to be all about you. It's not something to take into lightly. Some of the dangers about love magic, particularly black magic love spells. Like I said, I don't tell people what to do. If you really think it's the right thing for your situation, you go find a witch that's willing to do it. There's plenty of them that are willing to do it. I would explain your situation in depth to that witch and why you want this person so badly, because most, professional witches that'll do spells like this will tell you that, this person's going to now be in your life for the rest of your life. These are not spells to be taken lightly. And know that even in these circumstances, even with black magic, it's not like a one spell will fix the situation. If there's somebody else, you can you can do a black magic love spell on a stubborn target. Yeah, you'll make that person fall for you. But if they're with somebody else and they feel like they can't get out of that situation for whatever reason, they're not going to leave that person unless you throw in a breakup spell, some kind of separation spell. Or here's how I'm getting into, remember how I said it, most situations like this aren't a one spell fix thing. You can do a souring spell. And what a souring spell does, you can do them with friendships too, though it's less often done. You should create a spell, and say two people that are together, it's a toxic relationship, and you have feelings for one of them, and you want that person just isn't strong enough to get away from the toxicity. You can do a souring spell to basically speed along the negativity and the toxicity in that relationship and let it fester, because what this spell does is it'll bring out the toxic aspects, and it'll get worse and worse. And you also in this spell bind them together, so for at that time they cannot separate, assuming the spell works. And it just festers, and you usually use a lemon, you let it rot, and it just festers and gets worse and worse and worse. And you can throw it in the freezer and really let that toxicity run rampant, because it'll freeze in the level that it's at. You can bring it out, you can thaw it. Thaws, it gets more rotten, and just every time it gets worse, it gets worse. And then eventually you separate the binding spell, and it becomes a separation spell, and you would bury the two halves of a lemon far from each other, so those two people can never reconnect because of their toxicity. And usually in situations like that, it's usually like one's being abused, one's the abuser, and the one who's being abused can't say enough for themselves, can't say no, is a pushover. Usually the situation could be the male or the female, or two women, two men, it doesn't matter. So then it becomes a separation spell. You can also turn that spell, just for a side note, you can also turn that spell into a hex. If say two people in a toxic relationship, and somebody in that toxic relationship screwed you over in some way, you can do that exact same spell and leave them bound together and throw it in the freezer for years. Just leave them bound in that toxicity. I've known people who have done that, so that spell is quite versatile. As I said with love spells, a love spell isn't a fix-all. Let's assume you do one, whatever kind you choose, and it works. If that person's already in a relationship, you got to do a breakup spell first. You got to eliminate that competition, because the love spell in itself will only make that person develop feelings for you. It'll not make them, leave the situation they're in, because that spell doesn't affect their feelings about the person they're with, nor does it make them stronger and more able to walk away from a bad situation if they're not already that kind of person. So this can be, the dangers of love spell. Love spells can create a love triangle, to where you do a love spell, now your target is in love with you, but there was somebody else, so now you're in a love triangle. And a lot of times, men and women, when you create a love triangle, especially if you're casting a spell, it means they're already with somebody and you're the outsider. So who do you think, for the most part, people are going to rally behind? Not you. Not you. Usually. Depends on the situation. Depends on how much of a bastard the other person is. But usually, you know, because in a lot of, well, we'll just use this area for example. A lot of people just like the status quo. Just don't question. It's like, well, they're already together. Well, he hits her. Well, but the high school sweethearts, and it is. Just meant to be. You're meant to marry your prom date. It's just how we do things. But he cheats and gambles and drinks like a fish. But history, nostalgia. Yeah. All right. I have done spells for people in situations like that. Actually, black magic spells too, and it did end up for the better. So, yes, I will add the caveat that, love spells don't always end poorly. I'm saying do not enter into them lightly. Do not enter into them out of spite. Do not ever do a love spell of any kind on somebody that you just want to hook up with. There's plenty of lust spells out there too. But if you want someone to actually develop feelings for you, if the spell works, they're going to do it. And you can't just be like, whoa, I got second thoughts on this. I don't want you anymore. I got what I wanted. Oh no, oh no. You've pushed someone away who is the target of a black magic love spell. They're going to chase you. They're going to become more and more obsessed because that spell put in their mind that sense of attraction, that deep connection, that it's so, whatever they felt for you, if anything, is turbocharged to a degree. Now, if you're pushing them away, they're not getting the fix which the spell created, i.e., time with you, affection from you, and it's just going to get worse. So, they're not something to be taken lightly. Like I said, there are some situations where some of these spells are justified, but you really, if you're going to go that route, we'll just stick with black magic. If you're going to go the route of a black magic love spell, sit on it for months. If after months of having feelings for this person you want so badly, if those feelings do not fade or become stronger, despite the fact that you have little or no contact with this person, or you're not gaining any ground in showing your affections, okay, think it through. I'm not going to tell you what to do, but if you're thinking like, I met this girl at the bar last night and she's out of my league and bro, I just want to hook up with her. Come on, you gotta have some of that black magic witchcraft to get me laid, bro. That kind of shit. Yeah, no, 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 no. Not going to end well at all. And keep in mind too, if you're that dead set on somebody, even if you thought it through and you think, no, this is exactly what I want. I know this, like, let's say your intentions are pure, meaning that you actually want a long-term relationship with this person and you would treat this person right, but for whatever reason you're not getting a chance, and you say to someone, I want, this powerful ass black magic love spell. As I said before, keep in mind, not instant. And you may have to have the witch do other work for you first. Like I said, might be souring spells, might be breakup spells, might be separation spells. You might have to hex. Certain situations you might have to hex. You might have to do protection spells on your target, which I know sounds counterintuitive, but there are situations. Luck spells a lot of times would be thrown in these situations as well. Come to me spells, of course, they kind of go hand in hand with love magic. And I want to add, even with love spells, even the powerful ones, you still have to do your part. You have to open up to this person and tell them you have feelings, because they're going to start developing feelings. But do they know what you really feel? Do they know that you're serious? Because they're going to develop serious feelings. They got to know that especially if you're in a love triangle. Because even though, let's say you do a separation spell on top of it, even though that the rules of chance have been bent and your target is slowly drifting away from whoever they're with before, and that might be for the best. As counterintuitive as it seems, I'm leery about doing love spells for people. Most of the time when somebody asks me for a breakup spell or a separation spell, it's for a damn good reason. It's usually not I won't do it for someone who's just like, well, I don't want them together because I don't approve, and I want him with her instead because she's in my clique and he wants her. I was like, she's not her type at all or his type at all. Usually, when people come to me for separation spells and breakup spells, it's because it's toxic or abusive, and one of the parties is just simply not strong enough to walk away, or they feel like they can't for, could be various reasons for that. Just keep in mind that love spells are not without their risks and costs, and they can backfire too. Like I said, it may sometimes backfire on occasion where target doesn't fall in love, but now you're utterly obsessed with the person. You got to have that spell broken. And I guess I should mention too, there are rituals you can do if you're really considering like a powerful love spell on a specific person and you're not sure if that's really what you want, don't do it. And if you feel like, well, I have to do it because I'm not getting anywhere with this person and I can't get over them, there are spells for you out there that can that can destroy your feelings that you have for somebody that you're not getting anywhere with. I will say there's a risk with that too. Keep in mind, there's a good one. So there was a situation I had about a year ago where, a girl really wanted me to put a love spell on this guy, and he knew how head over heels she was, and she decided not to do it, and decided to have me do a spell to end her feelings for him. And then sure enough, 6 months later he was chasing her like crazy, but nothing happened because he told her he wanted nothing to do with her. And she's like, well, I got to get over this guy. So I did the spell, and it just, it took a couple of weeks, destroyed her feelings for him. And then when all of a sudden he wanted her, those feelings were gone. Because you do a spell like that, it's really tough. If you have a black magic spell done on you to get you over someone, it'd be very difficult for you to ever develop feelings for that person again. So keep that in mind, people who are like, well, I really like this person, but the timing's bad and I'm just going to treat them like shit. Well, tell them the truth. Maybe it is timing. Maybe there are reasons why it's just not a good time. But if you're telling them it's never going to happen, and they're head over heels and they need to get over you, don't be mad if 6 months down the road you change your mind and that person has moved on and feels nothing for you, especially if they had to use magic to do it, which occasionally, is the case. That was me once, about 8 years ago. I had to do a spell like that to get me over someone who played me. Yeah, I was 26. Yeah, so young love. Keep in mind, love spells are there for a reason. In my opinion, you're better off if you want love to do a love drawing spell to draw actual potential matches towards you. And if there's somebody specific you have your eye on and you just can't seem to get one-on-one time with that person, sure, do a come to me spell. There's no harm in bringing two people together to see if there's anything there. But when we get into putting love spells on specific people, oh, I can't do this without mentioning this because this was more of a thing like when I was in my early 20s. Bro, can you put a love spell on this celebrity? Yeah, I can, but she doesn't know you, and how is she going to automatically develop feelings for somebody she doesn't know? And her, love spell, people want love spells on celebrities. Hey, if you actually know the person, fine. It'll work just like on any other person, but you actually have to know them in order for it to work. Or just in general, if you want a love spell on a specific person, you actually have to know that person. Not well, I mean, they can just be a mere acquaintance, but you actually do have to know the person or it's not going to work. At least none that I have ever come across. I'm sure there's a few badass witches out there that could, uh, do a love spell like that, put on people they don't know and have it work. Call me witches. I'm just kidding. But call me. I got an idea. But understand, what a love spell is, that there's many different types, that there's many different types of things that fall under the umbrella of love spells to deal with a situation where one person wants to be in a relationship with another specific person and understand the risks that go into it. No, ask the witch that you're asking to do these spells a lot of questions. They'll answer. They'll tell you the truth about what you're getting yourself into. But you can't run to the witch afterwards if you change your mind. It's something that may be right for your situation, but every situation is different. And be damn sure that you are like really sure this is what you want, because it's not something that's easily undone, and it's not something to be taken lightly. So, since we're only a few days away from Samhain, and as I said, love spells and money spells are the two most requested spells people go to witches for, I figured I finally, after months of delay, would get my video out on love magic. So, take care and beware.